And I'm Retro Critic here. And today, I'm going to review and talk about Season 3 of Thomas the Tank Engine. So in this season, there's, a new budget, there's like a new feel in this season. They kind of update the models, they update the scenery of the season. Now, in Season 3, so it's still based on the books in this season, but I think they also even tried to adapt some magazine stories from this season. So that's interesting. Now, in this season, they still adapt the books, This is the first season where they actually also adapt magazine stories in this season, which is actually pretty cool. And that's what's really interesting about it. In this season, this was the last season where Shining Time Station, Shining Time Station did do Season 4. Now, we'll get to that. This is where, George Carlin officially came in and all that stuff, and he redubbed the other episodes. But this is where, in Season 3, George Carlin dubbed the other episodes of the first two seasons. And this is the first season where George Carlin came in. And Shining Time Station lasted until 1989 through 1996. It made some reruns in 1998. The first, at least the third season of Shining Time Station ran up till 1995. Yeah, reruns in 1998, but it ran up till like 1995. And then the fourth season came out in 1996 and all that stuff. And this is where, Thomas stays in the series. But the third season, Thomas the Tank Engine, actually came out around 1991 through 1992. So it came out in the early 90s. The third season, Thomas the Tank Engine, was released through 1991 through 1992. So yeah, it came out in the early 90s. It was a big hit TV. It was a big hit on VHS and TV. So it was a big hit through the UK and US when it aired on PBS and London television. So it was a big hit on American television and British television, and it became popular in British VHS, and it became really popular and a big hit in VHS, and it became a big hit in VHS tapes in the market, in the video market store. So, that's where that happened. So that's really interesting right there. Really fascinating. Now in this season, this is where we get two new narrators. Now, George Carlin this is the season where we officially get George Carlin redubbed. It's like he redubbed the other first two seasons. But the third season is where I think George Carlin technically officially came in and voiced and dubbed and narrate this season. So we get George Carlin this season. But in the UK, we also get a new narrator. We get Michael Angelis, comedian Michael Angelis, who first did the narration of the third season. Since Ringo Starr was replaced, we get Michael Angelis. So in the third season, we get Michael Angelis narrating the season. Because since Ringo Starr wanted to go back to his music career and left, we get Michael Angelis. Now, since Ringo Starr wanted to go back to his music, career, Ringo Starr left the show and he was replaced by Michael Angelis. And then Michael Angelis stepped in and he came in as the new narrator of the series. And he's the UK narrator and George Carlin is the American. So it's pretty cool now. Now we get two new different narrators. We get Michael Angelis from the UK and George Carlin from the US. And honestly, I would say they both did a really good job. I prefer the George Carlin version, but there's times I actually really like Michael Angelis in this season. He's really entertaining and fun. I love his voice. I love the voices he does for characters. I actually love the voices he gives for characters. So I love both narrators of this season. They're really on par. You could say it's a competition, but I do like episodes like, we like the episode. Now the Christmas episode's weird because in Shining Time, they restore the Christmas episode in the UK, but in the US it was really weird. It was still kind of Christmas, but it was really a Thanksgiving episode, and they had to cut the audio out, or it was just strange. But we'll get to that. But first of all, I think Michael Angelis does now I was new to Michael Angelis. First of all, he has really good voices. I love his enthusiastic energy of the voice he was same as George Carlin's fun and entertaining in this season. But I was not really exposed to Michael Angelis' narration until Season 7, because that's where Season 7 came in and Michael Angelis stepped in. Most people in my age group would say, yeah, they're introduced to Michael Angelis through Season 7. They introduced Michael Angelis through Season 7. And that's just because that's where Michael Angelis officially did US dubs produced. And that's because Michael Angelis officially did US dubs. He did the US narration briefly for Season 7. So he briefly did the narration for Season 7 of the series, which is actually really fascinating right there. So that's a fascinating story unto itself. But But I was never exposed to Michael Angelis's early dubs or early seasons, and I really liked the guy. I was not really exposed to his early stuff until I watched his narration of the early seasons. So I'm not gonna lie, I actually really like his narration. There's like good competition between him and George Carlin. Now, what's really amazing is his voice is really I love his enthusiastic voice. I love his energetic voice he gives to the characters, his accents. I love that he gives his voice his accents to the characters. And so I really like, and I really like George Carlin's narration this season. He's really entertaining and fun to listen to. He's really fun to listen to in this season. So I like both of them, really. I prefer the Carlin one, but I would say Angelis is on par. So that's my thoughts on that. I would say Carlin's. I would prefer the Carlin one still. I would prefer the Carlin narration still in this season. But Angelis is like a close second. He's like on par, really. Angelis is a close second. So the winner is Carlin, but maybe. So the winner, in my opinion, of the best narration of this season is Carlin. But I would say Angelis is a close second. Now, I do like episodes. Now, my favorite episodes is like All at Sea, Percy's Promise. I love Percy's Promise. Plus, he was good. I love episodes like James Goes Buzz Buzz. I love James Goes Buzz Buzz. Nostalgic. Love that one. Oliver's Escape is amazing. Oliver's Escape is amazing. Classic episode. Henry's Force. Oh, Henry's Force is great. Gordon's Trouble. I love Gordon's Trouble. Gordon the Famous Engine is great. Gordon the Famous Engine is a good episode. I will go on. There's many. Thomas is classic. Thomas and Toad is a classic episode. Diesel's Return. The episode is fun. The episode where Diesel returns is a pretty good fun episode. It's a good fun episode where he returns. I like the episode where Diesel comes back and then gets sent back after he kind of was being an asshole to Duck and Percy. But then when Diesel gets caught and he does something bad with the freight carts and causes complete damage to the carts, then Diesel gets sent back. I really like that episode. Classic. So yeah, it's the episode Percy and Duck exposed and he made messes crashed. A really good episode of that. Really good. I like how they bring back that villain in that season. And to top it all off, I like where they bring back, So it's a good episode where they bring back Diesel and Diesel gets sent back, and Diesel. So it's cool they bring back that villain again. It's cool they bring back the villain Diesel again, and then eventually gets sent back. But and to top it all off, my other favorite episode is the Christmas episode. My other favorite episode is the Christmas episode. Now the Christmas episode has a really weird history here because the UK one is the complete and restored version, but for some reason the US version they took the audio out because they try to make it a Thanksgiving episode, even though it's clearly a Christmas episode. It was just weird because don't get me wrong, in the US version it's kind of a Christmas episode, but they try to say it's Thanksgiving. It makes no sense. That's why I watched the UK version because it's the complete episode and it's like the restored version of the Christmas episode of the final episode of this season. Now, from what I read, it's been said that in Shine Time Station they try to it was a Thanksgiving episode. They turned a Christmas episode into a Thanksgiving episode. It's weird, and they took the audio out, or they did some weird changes of the audio. It was just strange. We were storing it back in. No, what was really strange, and they made it shorter. I don't know why, because it was strange. They made it shorter and trimmed along. You can watch, but it's restored back in the UK version. But what was really strange is, for some reason, they changed the audio, they trimmed it down, made it shorter, and they took the audio out. But again, like I said, you can watch the UK version. The US version is just weird and just off-putting. But thankfully, you can watch the restored original UK version, not the weird restored US version. The US version is just weird to watch because, again, from what I read, they turn a Christmas episode to a Thanksgiving episode because in the live action segments of Shine Time Station, it was a Thanksgiving episode. They try to make it into a Thanksgiving episode, and they turn a Thanksgiving episode into a Christmas episode. They try to make they use a Christmas episode from the Thomas the Tank Engine series, and they try to turn it into or make it seem like it's a Thanksgiving episode in the Shine Time episode. It's just weird in the Shine Time Station series. It's just weird, and thankfully that's why it's best to watch the UK version. The Shine Time Station ones, the Shine Time Station episode was just odd, but it was strange. It was strange how they did, it was just really strange how the Shine Time Station made these really strict, weird decisions. So I don't know. The people that created Shine Time Station made really weird decisions. But that's why I just prefer watching the UK version. I just prefer watching the UK version because at least in the UK version, it's the real complete version of the episode. So I just prefer watching the UK version because just go So go watch the UK version. It's the original restored full. It's the full version. it's the full episode, it's the full version. But overall, that's all I gotta say. That's my thoughts on that. Okay, so now I'm gonna do a voice narrator comparison between Michael Angelis and George Carlin. So here's a voice narrator comparison between Michael Angelis and George Carlin.
At last the trucks grew tired. I'm winning, gasped Oliver. But it was too late. Oliver lay, bruised and bemused, bunkered down in the turntable well. Duck surveyed the damage. Hello, Oliver. Are you being a good gracious engine?
At last the cars grew tired. I'm winning, gasped Oliver. But it was too late. Oliver lay bruised and bemused, bunkered down in the turntable well. Duck surveyed the damage. Hello, Oliver. Are you being a good gracious engine?
Diesel, thinking he could get away with his bad behaviour, was ruder than ever. Next day, he was shunting trucks full of china clay. He banged the trucks hard into the buffers, but the buffers weren't secure. The silly trucks were sunk.
Diesel, thinking he could get away with his bad behavior, was ruder than ever. Next day, he was shunting freight cars full of china clay. He banged the cars hard into the buffers, but the buffers weren't secure. The silly cars were sunk.
So that was my comparison of the voices between the two narrators, Michael Angelis and George Carlin. Yeah, so that was my voice narrator comparison between the two narrators of Michael Angelis and George Carlin. And now in terms of what narrator I prefer, I do clearly prefer George Carlin over Michael Angelis. Michael Angelis is alright, but I like George. I do prefer George Carlin over Michael Angelis. Michael Angelis was actually pretty good in this season, but I think I do like George Carlin more in this season. So now we're going to get into my top 8 favorite episodes of Season 3 of Tom's Tank Engine, and some honorable mentions too. So now here are my top 8 favorite episodes of Season 3 of Tom's Tank Engine, and some honorable mentions with their 2. So here we go. So here it is. So that was my top 8 favorite episodes and honorable mentions from Season 3 of Tom's Tank Engine. And those are my honorable mentions and my favorite episodes of Season 3 of Tom's Tank Engine. And I hope you liked and enjoyed it. And now back to the video. And now on to the next part. So here are my 2 honorable mentions. I do like the episode Trouble in the Mud. That's a good one. I do like the episode Oliver Owns Up. That's also a good one too. I like that one too. And those were my 2 honorable mentions. Now here's my top 8, and this comes in no particular order. So number 8 is A Scarf for Percy. Number 7 is Percy's Promise. Number 6 is Thomas Gets Bumped. Number 5 is Diesel Does It Again. Number 4 is James Goes Buzz Buzz. Number 3 is Henry's Forest. Number 2 is Heroes. And number 1 is Bulgy. And so that was my top 8. And honestly, I give Season 3 of Tom's Tank Engine an 8 out of 10. It was an amazing season. And honestly, I give the 3rd season of Tom's Tank Engine an 8 out of 10. It was an amazing season. I mean, I would say this is maybe a top 5. Maybe this is one of my favorites. I don't know. It's just really good because I love the cinematography is really great in this one. I love the cinematography in this season. It's really beautiful. David Minnan really shot this episode really great. Now, David Minnan is a really good cinematographer. People don't give him a lot of credit because, look, I mean, I feel like people should really give him a lot of credit because he is a really great and really underrated cinematographer. He's a really good cinematographer. Because and he makes the scenery look really beautiful. That's why. But and the stories I like. The stories are enjoyable, and the stories are nostalgic for me. Also, what I really like is people don't give David Minnan a lot of credit. Or he eventually got his due desserts. But he eventually got credit. He eventually got his due desserts. But a lot of people did not appreciate David Minnan until later. But it was amazing because he's just such an amazing cinematographer. Now a lot of people did not appreciate David Minnan. Later on, eventually he was appreciated, but that's just because he was an amazing photographer. He is his cinematography is really underrated. He has really beautiful cinematography, and the way he shots his cinematography is great. The way he shots his sceneries are very well crafted. On how he shoots his scenery is like very well it has like very well realistic sun lighting. That's what I really like about that. I would go on. It's just a really well shot season. It has a bigger budget. I really enjoyed this season. Overall, yeah, I really enjoyed this season. I would say it's a top 5 for me. I would say it's maybe one of my favorite. I would say it's maybe one of my favorite seasons. I would say it's at least maybe a top 5 for me of one of my favorite seasons. Because it's a really enjoyable season. Like the stories, like they have their they updated the model. It has a bigger budget in this season. They updated the models in this season. It's a really fun season, and I had a good time. And the stories were fun. The stories were fun, and overall, I had a good time. So that's pretty much about it. And I don't have really much to say. So overall, guys, that's about it. That's all I gotta say. I hope you like it. And yeah, I had a good time this season, and I hope you enjoy my video about it. So guys, that's all. Those are my thoughts on that. So that's all I gotta say. And those are my thoughts on that. That's how I feel this season. Those are my thoughts on this season. So guys, I'm Retro Critic, and I'm out. And I'll see you guys later. And I'll see you guys in the next video. And peace out, and bye.